I'd say, leading up to the game, don't even come to practice. Go out, enjoy yourself, go have a few margaritas, just relax, and then come back and then go against Matt Khalil, because that's the effort that it's going to take to get past Matt Khalil. I mean, he was the one that said, the offensive line coach, this is the first time he's demanded excellence. Well, I don't think it's really showing for him. So,
yeah, how about that?
Matt Khalil is putting in all that effort to not be good and get that contract. Why should Everson Griffin in his sleep will go past a waking Matt Khalil for a sack on Cam Newton?
Just be careful, though, because you start to get too confident in a game like this. You got to tone it down just a little bit. You can't be – this is the type of thing, because the Falcons game you looked at and you said – that's a tough game.
I agree with that.
And so you win that game. You can't come back now and be like, it's going to be a cakewalk. So be careful, Randy.
Well, here's the thing. If this was like a Falcons team or a Saints team or even an Eagles team where they have an overall scheme that you should be worried about different facets of the team, I get that. But let's be real about this. The Carolina Panthers, they don't have a scheme. If you take this team and put them in the 80s NFL era, you won't notice the difference. They're like Lonzo Ball. They're in the wrong era of football, a lot of read options and just grinded out wins. That whole team's offense is based on one guy. The only reason that the Carolina Panthers will ever do anything like we saw in that Super Bowl a couple years ago is that Cam Newton will just will his way to win. That's not going to work against this Minnesota Vikings defense. So I get what you're saying, Judd, as far as don't get too cocky and everything, but this is the Carolina Panthers where they don't have a scheme. They just have Cam Newton, and they just ride the coattails of him.
It's a good phone call by our guy, Realistic Randy in Oakland. And what I was going to say is I agree with you on the Falcons game and on some of the other games that, okay, like that Falcons game, maybe it wasn't the same Matt Ryan as last year, same offense, but that was a really tough game going in.
Yep.
No game is easy on the road in the NFL. So even when you go play the Browns on a neutral site, you can look crappy in the first half. The Vikings should win this game, and it shouldn't take a grinded out, crappy effort in the second half to do it. They're going to put Cam Newton to sleep. Cam Newton can't beat a Mike Zimmer defense. He can't. He's not good enough. He's not a good enough passer. So unless he breaks a bunch of tackles and runs for 80 yards, or they have a fluke kick return touchdown, Mike Zimmer's defense will put Cam to sleep.
It should, as long as they go into the game with that mentality, though. My point is this:
think they're not going to? Let's go in and not dominate.
Hey, listen. They're people too, and they look at Matt Khalil and they look at the exact things that you're talking about, and it gets very, very easy to start to say, "Whew, we beat Detroit. That was tough. We beat the Falcons. That was tough. This is going to be simpler." What I'm saying is, you can't look at the game like that.
Well, does anyone think that this team is taking opponents lightly from what you've seen so far this year?
I'm saying it's human nature for the Vikings to potentially feel the way that we're talking. Teams want to say, well, we tune that stuff out. It's not true. Teams are very susceptible to the same thing that we think about, which is, boy, you got past two really tough road games, and now it gets simpler. If you give into that, it becomes dangerous. If you don't, you're fine.
651-646-8255. Mike, you're on the show.
Yeah, I had to laugh at Randy's comments a minute ago about that the only way the Panthers are ever going to achieve anything was if Cam Newton's will takes them there. Apparently his will wasn't all the way there in the Super Bowl on that fumble and his subsequent effort on that recovery, because I've said this since day one of that play happening, that 100% of what you need to know about Cam Newton was on that play right there.
Yeah. Period. Didn't he even say after the game he didn't want to it was Jeff George. Mix it up in there. Yeah.
Same thing that George did in St. Louis in the 99 playoff game.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike.
His comments were nearly as embarrassing as his effort on that play.
Yeah. I think there's a better chance the Vikings absolutely embarrass the Panthers in this game than lose the game. I think if you're ranking, if I get three options, a Vikings loss, a close Vikings win, or a Vikings embarrassment of Cam Newton and the Panthers, thus putting them basically out of the playoffs, I would rank close Vikings win number one, your competitive game, yeah, Vikings win number one.
I agree with that.
And then I would rank Vikings embarrass Panthers number two over Vikings lose this game. I feel that strongly about Cam Newton against a Mike Zimmer defense.
Wow.
You can track mark this for Monday. I was going to say, in case I'm wrong.
Let's use this.
We'll play this on Monday if I'm wrong.
20-17, Vikings lose. Let's hear Mackey's comments from last Wednesday's show.
Yeah. Yep. They've sacked him 12 times in the 2 meetings.
I think it's going to be a closer game than we probably think right now, but I think that the Vikings do win. But, I mean, still, I don't care who the 3 teams are. If you come off a 3-game trip perfect in this league, that's outstanding. So when they went in, if they lose this game, it's going to be disappointing, but I still don't think that you can look at a 2-1 3-game trip and be upset about it at all.
They're staring at 13-3, even obviously with a slip up.
I mean, if they win this game, Phil, they've got Cincinnati, Green Bay, Chicago left?
Yeah, if Rodgers comes back, it wouldn't shock me if, let's say they win the next 2 games, and then Rodgers comes back as the Packers are still alive mathematically. It wouldn't shock me if a more desperate Packers team playing at home, it'll be a short week, and Rodgers looking for a bleep you game in revenge, it wouldn't shock me if they slipped up in that game. But it wouldn't, I mean, the only way it would be significant, I guess, is if it cost you home field advantage, which it could. I mean, Philadelphia has another tough game this weekend against the Rams. You're clearly rooting for the Rams in that game if you're a Vikings fan. And then I think Philadelphia has Dallas at least one more time. And Dallas is they're still fighting, and they got their left tackle back last week. So, Philadelphia it's not a walk. And what you saw that slip up against Seattle, it shows you, that's not the 14-2 caliber team that maybe they projected themselves as for the first 2 or 3 months.
Yes. Yeah, they are. I don't think that is there a team in this conference right now that you think is by far and away the best? I don't.
No, I think
the Vikings are very good, Eagles are very good, but there's no team that I would guarantee you right now among the competitive teams is the best team.
I think the Vikings are the measuring stick right now, but I think whoever winds up as the 6th seed, if it's Seattle or if it's Aaron Rodgers, Packers, or whoever it is, I think the 6th seed is capable of getting to the Super Bowl. Especially if it's the Seahawks. Yeah. Or even if it winds up being the Saints or the Falcons.
Yeah,
they went to the Super Bowl last year.
That's probably true.
In the AFC, you would never say that.
Well, no, because there's basically 2 teams. And there might be one. And there might be one team.
Yep. All right, let's do our quarterback cesspool challenge picks for the week when we come back. Celebrating the poor performances all across the NFL, Mackey and Judd.
Phil Mackey, Judd Zulgad.
You guys are spoiled. You guys are lucky to have these guys.
Mackey and Judd on 1500 ESPN.
It's cesspool time, gentlemen. We're getting down there to the end of the quarterback cesspool challenge season. We've got punishments racked up. We're going to have to unload a bunch of them this week. So every week we do 2 things. We crown and celebrate the worst quarterback performances in the NFL, the best of the worst, if you will. And then we make our picks, try to predict the worst quarterback performances each week. You can only pick a quarterback one time all season, so there's a lot of strategy involved here. You can't just keep picking Tom Savage, who actually
that didn't
burned
work
Judd
for
last
me
week.
too well last week. Thanks a lot.
So we'll get to all that in a second, but first let's celebrate the 3 worst quarterback performances based on ESPN's QBR, starting with this guy.
Rams bring extra pressure that's picked up, and that's intercepted at the 40-yard line. Ogletree is taking it the other way for a touchdown, Los Angeles Rams.
Blaine Gabbert, if there was a Mount Rushmore of quarterback cesspool options, I guess, he'd be, in the modern era, Blaine Gabbert would have to be in the mix, right?
Such longevity for cesspool play, too.
Correct, yeah.
Such a great prospect at one time.
Couple interceptions in that game against the Rams. His team loses 32-16. This next guy you wouldn't expect to be among the 3 worst quarterbacks from week to week, but he was.
Crowder's been a hot receiver for Cousins. Goes that way, through his hands, and intercepted by Jeff Heath. So Heath comes up with the pick, and the Cowboys get the red zone turnover.
Kirk Cousins with a couple interceptions on the road against Dallas in a 38-14 loss.
I did not realize that until just now.
A sneaky cesspool performance by Kirk Cousins, Dave.
There's at least 1 lost fumble, 2 added in there. That hurts the guy's QBR.
And then this guy who there's 2 or 3 guys on this team that could pretty much rotate depending on who starts.
Starting from the 25, Trevor Simeon's pass, and it's going to be intercepted. Xavier Howard, touchdown.
King cesspool this week was Trevor Simeon in a 35-9 loss at Miami, 19 of 41 and 3 interceptions. Was also sacked 3 times for 33 yards.
Hey, but he's still starting for him.
Good God.
Still starting for John Elway and those Broncos.
Elway is the best quarterback on that team, right?
Oh yeah,
for sure.
It's
right?
not even
If
close.
he put on the pads today.
Yes, 100%.
Bring back Ponder. That's what I say. Bring back Christian Ponder because
Don't say that.
he was on their sideline last year, right?
I don't know about last year. Hasn't he been gone for a couple of years?
I think they gave him a tryout or a couple of years ago at least. Yeah, he was a member of their roster. Bring him back.
Is it even at all like? Are there ever any references on the ESPN pregame shows that Sam Ponder hosts?
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed any like awkward tiptoeing around the Christian Ponder stuff, or is he just so much of a just in the rearview mirror guy? No, they don't even. I don't think he's even like.
I think I
They
might
don't talk about quarterback busts, really. He was the fourth guy in that draft, so...
No, I think I've heard him mentioned once or twice by various guys on the panel, but it's never in detail, in depth about how bad he was. Well, they can't, or Sam would get mad and block him on Twitter.
That's true. Or block them in person.
He'd block him in studio. Cut the mic. You're done.
You just sit there.
Randy Moss not talking the entire time.
So, Judd, in terms of our picks from last week, Judd has lost back-to-back weeks now. You correctly thought that Tom Savage would have a 4-interception performance.
Not my fault.
And instead, Tom Savage went savage on the Titans. He threw for 365 yards.
Why?
Tom Savage went for 365.
Why are you doing this to me, Tom?
You've made very sound picks, I would say, the last 4 weeks.
I know.
Your last 4 weeks have been Tom Savage, Brett Hundley, Nathan Peterman, and C.J. Beathard. You cashed in with Nathan Peterman.
Oh, yeah.
But Beathard, Hundley, and Savage all had season-best performances when you picked them.
Why? What did I ever do?
I don't know, man.
To deserve this?
In fact, the two best, because we keep the QBR ratings for all of our picks, 2 of the 3 best performances on the year, and we're going for the worst performances,
right,
have been by Tom Savage and C.J. Beathard, who you've picked both times.
C.J.
Well
Beathard.
done.
C.J. Beathard, you're awful. Just be awful. Do what you do.
So on the season here, I've added up the totals for QBR. So far, I have picked the most bad quarterbacks, and then you and Dave are sort of neck and neck for that second spot there. So this is a big week here, week 14.
I got to end my losing streak.
And you have the first overall pick, Judd Zulgad, so fire away.
Yes, and believe it or not, I have not taken this guy yet, so I'm going to do it now. Go to Arizona.
Blaine Gabbert. You know what they say, if you don't have anything nice to say about something, then don't say anything at all. But we have to here with the Cesspool Challenge. Blaine Gabbert is an absolutely terrible NFL quarterback. He's made 3 appearances this year for the Cardinals. 5 interceptions already in those 3 outings. Not very good. Look for at least a couple more this week as he leads that Cardinals attack. Once again, they will be at home taking on the Titans. Hope they hand it to AP, or else you'll have another Cesspool champion.
All right, man, you're...
I'm worried he's going to go for 402 this week.
I think your process is right. The results are going to come. You keep picking the C.J. Beathards and the Tom Savages.
I'm the Sixers.
Yep, results are going to come at some point.
Thanks a lot.
Dave Harrigan has the number 2 pick in Week 14 here, quarterback cesspool challenge.
I do, and boy, this is a really tough week. There's a lot of great options, but I just can't get this one out of my head. I don't even know if he's going to play. That's how excited I am about just the possibility of getting another look at Nathan Peterman.
Nathan Peterman! Will he or won't he? That is the question this week. Not will he or won't he be bad, but will he even play? We don't know yet what the quarterback situation is in Buffalo this week. Tyrod Taylor left with a bruised patella last week. Peterman had to take over. Will he play this week, however? We don't know, and that's the question, really. It's going out on a limb, taking Peterman, who last week threw for 50 yards in relief against the Patriots, and of course, back in November, 5 interceptions in the game he started against the Chargers. If he starts, he's a phenomenal pick. We're going out on a limb this week, but I like the guts.
You know what? I mean, Tyrod Taylor is questionable, and we'll get practice injury reports out today. I like the gamble, though, because if Nathan Peterman plays, the guy is averaging 10 interceptions per game if you were to prorate out the 5 he had in the first half.
He did right by me.
So
and he doesn't even have to start, right? He could just come in third quarter.
So here's the rule on this.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
If he doesn't play, Dave gets hit with a 75 QBR. And we've only had almost certain loss. We've only had 3 quarterbacks go above a 75 QBR this season.
And Blaine Gabbert will this week, probably.
Yeah, because Judd picked him. Yep. So, but if he gets in the second, if Tyrod Taylor gets re-injured or something, and you get